All right, and we are live. And who dislikes it before it started? There's always. I have someone has a bot that actually does it, I think, because a lot of videos, as soon as they upload them, there's a dislike the moment they're uploaded, which I always find amusing. But hey, whatever. That's life. I'm not overly worried about that. And yeah, I seen that comment right here. Welcome to Vlog Thursday, episode 189, our income sources. And I was going to break down some percentages because I think this question's come up a couple times. So I said, hey, what the hell? I'll make a video and I'll put it at the beginning of the video. So if someone says, what do you do? I can talk about what I do and where my company makes money. Now, I've done a separate video talking about YouTube and affiliates and things like that. That's a separate video than this. This is when I'm not doing YouTube. I mean, granted, YouTube brings in leads, so there's no connection here. But when I'm not doing YouTube, what does this company do to make money? And let me get that pulled up. And there we go. Took a second. So we'll start right here. This is where money comes from in percentages. And I brought this up because people asked me to do more on-site videos with structured cabling and talk about managed services and talk about our projects. But this is a breakdown on how that works out inside of our business. So projects and billable hours is actually the majority of the money we get in. So that's about 45% of it. Managed services is only 19%. Now, what happens is we have a managed service plan. I've talked about this on this channel before, where we don't do the all-you-can-eat, fully inclusive, pay one price, get unlimited support hours type packages. Because of that, that pushes more things over onto project and billable and structured cabling as well. But I don't know if those managed service full support plans usually include any type of structured cabling. Most of the ones I've seen don't, but I mean, there's always someone doing something like that. But I thought this would be an interesting topic just to kind of toss around. Now, what are project billables? Well, that really varies a lot. They're not always with managed clients. They are sometimes what you may consider the break-fix people. And the break-fix people are, well, we still have a lot of them. And I know people really get hard-nosed about that. And they're like, well, I only want to do managed. I never want to have anybody who's break-fix. I only want to do, people who are under contract. And that's great. There's definitely a market for that. And if you want to focus into that niche, that's perfectly fine too. We, matter of fact, get calls, and some of the project clients that we get are people who say, yeah, I called around and these people will only sign, 1+ year agreements on managed services in order to do the project that we need done right now. So it comes down to that. It's kind of that weird breakdown of, I get it. Those companies want to be all in on that particular market, so they only, and I think that's the way to force the customer's hand. And thoroughly, there's so much business out there. I know people that have run MSPs that, are upwards of, I think one person told me theirs was doing around $8 million a year, all on recurring, and hey, cool, they're happy. They don't really need to take on a project, stuff like that. That's not something that they think would be helpful. It would be a distraction to their core things they do for their managed client. And that's a very valid answer to me, that if you've built up that much revenue, and it's not automatically, because there's people say, well, they're missing opportunity. Well, maybe they're very focused on what they do. They've made a really good margin on the managed services they do, so they think that's where it's at. We still do a lot of these projects, and the projects are interesting because they come from the consulting things we talk about on YouTube. So I talk about how to set up firewalls and VPNs and storage, and then people contract us to set up firewalls, VPNs, and storage. There's a method to some of the madness that is all the videos I do on here, but those type of projects, rebuilding infrastructure, lift and shift as people may call it, where you redo all the infrastructure, you do a P2V, so you have all this physical infrastructure, they have like 5 servers, they want to buy a really nice virtual stack, put together new hardware, convert those systems over, run them all in a virtual stack, or we've migrated some people because it's more advantageous to get them from where they are in the closet of their small office into into some type of data center, for Azure being one of the options. We moved a company off of local to Azure because it was way more practical for what they did, with them having site reliability issues for this database, and having an Azure has actually fixed the site reliability and added the extra features they were looking for. So once again, that's a billable project, and those clients eventually are likely to turn into it. And there's a lot of money in the projects, because some of the projects, a single project may be a large chunk of money, therefore it makes that big piece of the pie rather blue. The managed services are good margin and are recurring, so they happen all the time. But when you have projects that are really good, and this is all broke down percentage, not revenue. I'm making money on each one of these, and I'm not going to break down the entire piece by piece, dollar by dollar, what my company makes. But, same thing with structured cabling. Those are also bigger dollar projects as well. When you talk about doing a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 project for structured cabling, it ends up being a bigger piece of that piece of the pie. Because each project is so big that you do a series of them. Now all of a sudden you have a bunch of big projects done, and now the pie looks bigger. It makes managed services look small, but not that it is small. We have quite a few clients on the managed service program. So that's it's just kind of a breakdown of it. I thought it just kind of an intro topic to kind of break down. So do we have out-of-state clients? Yes, we're picking up more and more essentially like co-managed IT roles outside of here. We're working on some plans to expand that even further. So we've been testing the waters and getting more of those clients. They're ones that generally what we're looking at is niching into, they have an on-site IT team. They want to outsource some aspect of that IT work over to us. So those are the kind of clients we're trying to find, the right happy mix, going, hey, they have an internal team that's going to take care of the direct interaction with all the users, fixing printers, Outlook, and user management, generally speaking, of these companies, but then they don't want to deal with some of the asset management, antivirus, security threat monitoring, and they will outsource that part over to us for a fee, and with also the agreement that I never want to have your users calling me about Outlook. I don't want to take their job. I want them to keep doing their job internally, and us handle some of that heavy lifting that they may not have a direct competency for, because if you were to ask an internal IT person and they start the process of researching what security tools to use or keeping up with the trends on that, their visibility is very narrow because they work on a narrow scope of things. And I was laughing at a couple of friends. They were talking about how someone they knew that worked for a very large company, they had two people whose only jobs, their actual title was system administrator, their only job was managing folder permissions for a large company. That's it. They just did it. And some of these guys purposely are narrowed down to very specific things to keep that going. That means they may not have a broader perspective on things, and that's where we come in, because we're working across a wide variety of industries. We're always looking at it from that high level. Our focus is at that level. That means we can provide a good service. We know when it's time to switch away from one product to another product, and we can see trends in those things and provide that support. So that's kind of where we're mixing it up there, and that's why we're growing the managed services. But because we do so many projects, and an example for a project is going to be that didn't fall under infrastructure because we didn't do the infrastructure, but we rebuilt an entire company. We've done this more than once. We've rebuilt like a company's internal infrastructure, swapped them off of one platform to another. Usually that's UniFi, or swapping out firewalls. Well, there's a bunch of billable hours that goes in the project. We did a data center job like that, where we swapped out virtually all their data infrastructure, data center infrastructure. They physically put it in, so it's not listed as a structured cabling project. It's just consulting. We didn't buy the hardware. We just had billable hours to do that. We do that with some of the storage design. We have two movie studios we've worked with. One's not exactly a movie studio, one more or less produces commercials, but same concept of we help do all the consulting to set up their storage arrays, to store all the videos and do all that. Once again, there's a consulting project that did have to deal with putting in infrastructure that they purchased, but they just pay us as a project. So that's kind of how all that works. So am I thinking about expanding? I'm always thinking about expanding the business. That's pretty much a go-to all the time. So that's how do you advertise my work? YouTube. That's pretty much all the marketing we do. Before we did YouTube, we did normal ads that you would see. We bought Google AdWords, we bought Facebook ads, we went door to door, like cold calling type thing, not exactly like knocking on doors, but belonging to local business groups to advertise things. That's a lot of it. So yeah, those are all the ways we used to advertise. Right now, the only thing you're looking at his advertisement. Yeah, that would be a good way to put it. You're watching my YouTube videos. You're noticing that's why I have a pre-roll on my ad that if you'd like to hire us for a project, there's a hire us button at the top. We say that in all the beginnings of the videos. Do you no longer purchase ad? Yeah, we quit advertising in 2019. We dropped all advertisement in, I think, 2018. I'd have to look. Sometime around 2018 into 2019, I decided that we were going to advertise full-time on YouTube. So that's my only source of advertising is YouTube for inbound leads. That's it. No marketing companies, no lead gen systems, just YouTube and people hiring us. I think that's about it. So do you always spray paint your Cisco switches silver to look like Ubiquiti switches? Yeah. We have no Cisco switches here, so. Do I have a calendar for how they got hacked? No, because we don't put them in a calendar. So that's for the other ones me and Xavier do, how they got hacked. We don't have a solid enough time frame for that. So do you see a majority of new customers coming from YouTube? Oh yeah, definitely. Lots of new people from YouTube. Every day, new people from YouTube. I don't think a day goes by, that even includes Saturday and Sunday, when our form that does our contact for people doesn't come in. I gotta grab some stats on that sometimes. I know people might be interested. I wonder if I could pull that up as a statistic for people filling out the form. That might be interesting. Can I go here? Can I go here? Data. Is there a stats page on this form? Summary. Kind of. I'm just going to grab a screenshot because I can't, there's still customer data in there, but it'll give you some ideas of what people are asking for. So let's see, we'll do it as this type of screenshot. Close all these things. It's going to be a little small to read, but I'll read it for you. This is out of 1,000 responses we have here. Manage or upgrade your technology. That was, looks like that's the small one there. Help with the network firewall, 31%. Bid structured cabling. This is deceiving because even though it's a small number of people ask, like I said, the scale and scope of those projects being as size they are makes a percentage, when you break it down as in divided by revenues incoming in the company, makes it a lot more. It doesn't take many, you just have to get a few. By the way, you can also notice that when you're looking at our, if you go to our hire us page, we have our prices broke down. So there's the conversion rate might be something someone's asking. So if you had 1,100, almost 1,058 people contact you, how many convert? Well, I've already told you the prices. People know why they're calling us. So we actually have a really high, I don't have the percentage on that off the top of my head, but I mean, probably 70% conversion rate for the time they contact us. I mean, they've already been vetted, so to speak, by the website, by telling them prices and understanding what we do. They came to the hire us button for a purchase essentially, because it's an inbound lead. So there's a really high conversion rate on that. Hopefully that may clarify some of how that works. So give me some insight into it. VSFTP. I don't know. I don't use VSFTP. So I don't understand that. I don't use that, so I can't answer that question. Do you manage much Cisco infrastructure? Very little. We have a handful of clients of Cisco. We just had another request today for some modifying some Cisco switches. We can. Not a lot. Just it's not that it's not out there. I know it's absolutely massive amount of market share they have. It's just not something we run around advertising for. But it'd be hard to describe because a lot of times when we're doing something like fixing a PF Sense or a UniFi switch, or especially any type of firewall work, they have whatever they have. And we've worked with HP ProCurve. We've worked with Cisco. It's kind of different. We actually do have clients with the Meraki as well. So that's not... We're not managing the Meraki account. Matter of fact, we manage all their IT. Someone else they bought the Meraki through still gives them the Meraki stuff. So that's is what it is. We know how to manage it. We know how to set it up. We've used it. We set up new VPNs and everything on it because we have access to their account. So there's definitely plenty of Cisco out there. Let's see. What devices on the bottom in the view of the rack? I see a Ubiquity switch, an Aruba switch, and a UniFi Dream Machine. So I guess I don't know which one you're asking about. We mark up hardware, but we don't hardly do much hardware. We frequently let people deal with their own hardware. We don't, people say, give me the best price. And I'm like, go ahead and hit Amazon. I'm not here in the price competitive business when it comes to trying to sell the hardware. That's such a low margin business, and it's always a race to the bottom. And it's really a race to who wants to make the least amount of money. So we tell people all the time, it sometimes even shocks them, that go ahead, buy whatever the hell hardware you want and pay us to set it up. I make my money leveraging knowledge, not trying to leverage someone else's product in the hardware market where the margins are just, they're really bad. So we'll put markup on there. So if someone wants to buy the hardware through us, yeah, we'll stick a markup on it. So that's not a problem. When we propose VPN to a client, we 99.9% of the time use OpenVPN. I never really have a reason not to use OpenVPN. Outdoor UniFi, yeah, those, I think it's a UAP ACM. The outdoor wireless ones that UniFi has are good. I do like those. UDM Pro works, it's just really basic. Do you do anything with WISP setups? Not really. We get them contacting us every now and then, but they always want a whole lot, and I know they work on small margins, so frequently I've been told, it's really weird because they fill the contact form out. I've had more than one of them do this. They ask for a half off price or a steep discount on our rates, and I'm like, no, I don't really feel like doing it for half the price when you have very complicated network engineering setup that you want done on your WISP, and you want to pay very little. I mean, I get it that it's not a high margin business. Then you're gonna, if you want to get into that business, do some time reading on how to build a WISP. You could do some time learning on network engineering. You can't just, I don't know. That's been a weird one where we do get those requests, but not very often. We've helped some things be set up on there, but they seem to not like my prices. When will UniFi fix VPN? Never. I don't know. I have no... There's a reason we don't use UniFi's routing equipment. And most of the reason around that is the UniFi routing equipment lacks VPN. And VPNs, especially in 2020, with more and more people working remotely, VPN has been a integral part of what we do, is setting up VPNs. Big amount of those service requests that come in, especially ones that came in... I don't have these broke down by like time frame, but the beginning of the year, when you see this one here where help with your network or firewall, which is this 31% one right here, yeah, that's people asking about VPNs more than anything else. So we did a lot of VPN, and we continue to do a lot of VPN work. So that's one of the reasons why we just can't really understand why USGs don't bother doing it better. I don't know. I don't have any answers. I mean, people think I have some magic insight into the way UniFi does things and why they don't. I don't know. People complain about it. I could complain about it too, but I would just be joining and commiserating with the crowd. Instead, I complain about it by using other products. That's my solution to the UniFi thing, is to use our products. This is the same answer I just gave a client who said, how do we improve AT&T? We can't stand all these problems we have with them. I said, the best way to improve AT&T is to not use them. That is the only answer I can have is there's only way to improve upon AT&T and their service is to not to use their service. And the same thing, it's unfortunate the USG does not have the robust VPN features that clients are asking for, so we just don't use them. That's how I feel about them. I don't think they're bad, they're just missing a feature. So it's not like I have a security issue with them, it's like, yeah. So since you manage so many routers and switches, how do you spread the workload out among staff and certifications? I don't know, just figure out how to do it. Once you know how to do one firewall, I have found, like if I want to work on a Zyxel or a Sonic Wall or a Cisco, I can work on a Sonic Wall, a Zyxel, Cisco, FortiGate. I've even done mixed environments where we've had to do IPsec between one site that had pfSense and the other site had FortiGate. We've done a few of them. They're whatever. If you know how to work one, working the other ones is usually not that hard. Even Untangles. I like Untangle, which I got to do some more videos on. Untangle's one of those ones for people who want a lot of filtering. I think Untangle's probably got the best setup for that. I've talked about that before. I've done videos on it. I want to do some updated videos on Untangle, but yeah. I don't know. Me and my staff don't really have a problem jumping between firewalls. I do know this question comes up a lot, but also I think people don't take the time to learn one firewall, and that might be why they have so much trouble. I know a person, and I found it to be an interesting conversation. They were complaining about SonicWall. They're also a SonicWall dealer, reseller, and have been for years, but their lack of knowledge on how that SonicWall worked blew my mind. Like, how do you been an IT person for this long? You only do SonicWall at all these different customers. You have about 50 customers you manage SonicWall for, but you just don't understand how the SonicWall works. And I think that person's knowledge gap probably would apply to any firewall in between. So, that. I don't know. I think once you get a good concept of it, you can pivot between them. That's kind of my bigger answer. New thoughts on WireGuard. I don't think it's been audited, so there's my same thought I have every time someone asks about WireGuard. Let me know it's been audited. Does the UniFi doorbell ring your jingle if your Protect system's offline? I don't know. It's not going to ring the phone because that goes through the Protect system. But I don't know if it'll ring. I imagine it'll still ring the physical doorbell. I don't have a physical doorbell to test. Chris would be a good one to answer that question. Do you have any guides to tune OpenVPN speeds? Yes. Type in hardening OpenVPN and you can play with all the settings. It's not really tuning. It's just you got to keep rolling back the encryption down until it gets to the fast speeds you want. You either use larger ciphers that take more computational time or slower ciphers that match the CPU in the system. There's not any secret to it. How do we document infrastructure configs in our wiki? Let's see. pfSense rocks. I agree with that person. Documenting config changes is not, I don't know. It's annoying, yeah. Documentation's annoying, I won't lie. Nobody in IT likes doing it. It's something we all have to do. And I know there's some tools that help automate levels of documentation management, and that's cool, but I don't know. So I haven't seen one that made me go, wow, this is, the system for me. Now, there are times you can have, like if you're running your own internal IT, where you have like infrastructure change notices being logged by some log server because you're all in one homogenized environment. Great. That works for people who have one homogenized environment. Or I do know MSPs, for example, and one of them I was talking to, their job internally, really, really easy. They are a rip and replace. And if you're not familiar with what that means is that MSP does one single product line. That product line they settled on was Datto. So whether you put new switches in 2 years ago or yesterday, if you sign up for their MSP program, everything top to bottom has to be Datto. It's the only way they manage their clients. Everything top to bottom is Datto. They don't make exceptions. They don't make excuses. When they take over clients, they have a big upfront cost to put all the Datto infrastructure in for the switches and the Wi-Fi and the backups. and then they manage it that way in a single dashboard. So every client is exactly the same, all in the same dashboard, all managed by the same systems. There's certainly advantages. That is an easier way to go. It's a harder sell because now you're forcing homogenization on all of your clients. So that has an upfront expense with it. But yeah, you get an easier to manage system at that point. You're all in. It depends on how you want to build your business. Someone recently I was talking to wants to build an entire business around the FortiGate product. I said, go for it, dude. I mean, if that's what they know, they want to build a business around it. And I'm like, as long as you can get the customers, that's what it really comes down to. And this client, this MSP I knew was quite big. They certainly had the customers. They got something like 60 techs working for them. So they built a good business, and they're focused on a single product line that everyone has the same product line. There you go. It's something you can do, and then documentation becomes easy because part of the product line ties to the RMM, ties to the entire ecosystem. What point would you need an SFP plus for network? Oh, I don't know. There's a calculation. Look at the bit rate between each of the cameras you have, and when the bit rate exceeds the ability of a 1 gig port, you need a 10 gig port. So, and that I say bit rate because that is going to vary by camera. So you have to look at the bit rate and add that all together cumulatively between all the cameras you have switched on. Hopefully that helps. Do you have any? Yeah, I like standardization, but we try to homogenize them to a single platform, but that's not always the case. Didn't they already audit your WireGuard? If they audited WireGuard and I'm wrong, send me a link. Last time I checked your website a couple weeks ago, it wasn't audited that I remember. So if someone did an audit on them, awesome. That's great. I don't think it's been done yet. I can always go look at their site, but I'll do that later. What's my opinion of Datto? I know people that use it that seem happy. I am not so unhappy with SolarWinds that I think I need to switch to Datto. So I think all of them suffer from the same problem. They all try to wrestle the Windows beast. So while Datto may be able to do some of the non-Windows related management things very well, all RMM tools wrestle with Windows and updates and problems related to Windows. Or the problem we have with the client today, because now it's not just Windows, it's other crappy things that Windows makes, like Office or Microsoft makes. So like Office, we have an Office mailbox that's ignoring retention policies. Why? I don't know. It just decided that of all the mailboxes, this one's not going to do it. So you have to contact Microsoft support. The more you get into using Office 365 and managing it for clients, the more you realize it's a product that just breaks randomly. Like, hey, why did this one user out of all these users lose complete synchronization with their OneDrive? I don't know, because it's Tuesday, that's why. And Microsoft makes products that on Tuesdays break sometimes, or even on Wednesdays. It doesn't really matter. It just couldn't sync any of the documents. Microsoft solution, delete all the documents and let them sync again. Stupid problem, but fixed it. So that's that's one of the annoying things. I've got a UniFi USG switch AP, which all APs appear with them. So you buy an AP based on volume of users. I like Errata is not bad, and Errata is baked into the back end of a lot of other systems in terms of an IDS or IPS system. I have videos on Errata. They pretty much apply to Snort too, but I've been using Errata longer, so I just did it on that. But if you like Snort, they work in a very similar way. We only do fiber links when we do cabling and infrastructure projects as needed, so it really depends. We just built out, the one I said we won the bid, and I went over that video of the structured cabling project we did. That one there, there's no fiber in there because no distance warrants running a fiber cable. Just the building has 200 something drops, but they're all really, none of them warrant the distance needed for fiber. Therefore, there's no fiber in it. So it all depends on scale and scope. The warehouses we talked about some of the warehouses. Well, there's a bunch of fiber. They're warehouses. The way to get across the warehouse at that distance is going to be with fiber. I forget, I can't remember if the warehouse was like 150 or 200,000 square feet, whatever the number was. If you have a big enough area, yeah, you need fiber. And one of the other ones had multiple buildings on a single, like a couple acres of facility with a huge warehouses at different parts of this and underground cabling, which was fiber to get from one building to another. So in that case, yeah, we do fiber. So Smarvin's been using Datto for 3 years. Yeah, I mean, some people I know use it. They seem to be happy with it. So most of the complaints usually revolve around dealing with a Windows problem that just it wasn't fixed by your RMM. And insert name of RMM. I've heard people hate all of them for not wrestling the Windows update beast. So yeah. Yep, the 365 CSP breaks on the daily. You are not wrong. So someone else says they did not find a proper third-party audit of WireGuard. That's how I think it's I like it. I don't know if there's some mathematician's going to look at it and find some egregious hole in it. That could be. This is a puzzle because the people seem to be the privacy-oriented people who are always asking me about WireGuard, and I'm like, why are you always asking about it? You don't want to use OpenVPN, which is vetted and audited very well by 2 separate independent high-quality audits were done of OpenVPN. But WireGuard is the new hotness, so you're willing to sacrifice any privacy gains that you may get from a VPN because it goes a little bit faster. And most of that is, yeah, I don't know. I guess it makes people happy. I might do a rant on VPNs because I was watching different YouTubers flipping through the YouTube, and they all start with, you need to get this VPN and all the VPN sales. I might rant about that again. I hate the fact that they try to make claims that you're safer on a VPN. You may be more private on a VPN. You may be safer from, because you're torrenting movies or whatever you're doing, you're safer from a subpoena now, but I don't want people to think there's a, it's what? And it's hard because people like the short answer. Am I safer on a VPN? Give a yes or no. And I'm so hard to say, but I can't just say yes or no. I like to either not answer the question or not do it. And I see all these people just selling VPN. The biggest reason they sell is because it's easy to sell VPN. There's a good margin in it because it's an easy to deliver over service, and very much like, I'm talking completely not tech related YouTubers all push VPNs. So yeah. Let's see. Do you have bad experience with PPOE? I don't have any experience with PPOE. PPOE is a thing in Europe, and I just don't have any PPOE here in the US I deal with. I do know everyone who ever asked me about it seems to be in Europe. I know it exists here in the United States, but I just don't have any clients with PPOE. Therefore, I'm never sure how to answer that as a question. So people ask, hey, Tom, I've got this quirky PPOE problem. Can you help? And I just reply with, you can pay me by the hour to work on it, but I have no insight on it. I'll work on it. And people will go, well, I don't want to pay you to guess. I'm like, then pay someone else to guess. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, OpenVPN is a solid product, and it's well vetted. It's easy to deploy. It works on all the major platforms. It's integrated well with all the major platforms, Mac, Windows, Linux, BSD. So whatever flavor thing you're using, hell, it even works great on my phone. I have OpenVPN on my phone. It works on all the platforms. I'm trying to figure out why I need WireGuard. I think it's cool. There's a lot of advantages I do understand it has, but the utmost importance and the reason, my entire reason for me needing a VPN is pretty much to get back into work and a remote in and have a secure, solid connection that people can't eavesdrop on. That's why, and I have that video on like hardening OpenVPN. I cover all those details. I cover the different settings you can do with it. I even break down some of the speed changes with it that come with, adding extra layers of security. It's always a compromise. Do you want to use really, really big keys great. You made the harder to crack it open. Maybe it'll take 1,000 years from to open up whatever bits were inside there, and well, at least that's far enough in the future you probably won't care. But that comes at the computational expense of speed. So yeah, that's anyways. Don't have a favorite Marvel or DC character, sorry. I'm not the biggest superhero movie person. I'm a Star Trekkie, so I can answer Star Trek questions way better. Patch management. Patch management's just a disaster. I don't really have any way to... Good luck. We use SolarWinds for patch management, so... Yeah, WireGuard works at the kernel level, so you're right, David. There are some advantages to it, such as the way it can hand off things. There's definitely, I mean, it's a way less code. It has less ciphers, so there's very few options to mess with. And that's a big advantage of WireGuard. One, there's less code to audit, so there's less code to have mistakes in. There is an exponential amount of, as you ramp up the lines of code, the potential for mistakes goes up proportionately with that, or maybe even exponentially with that. So there's certainly an advantage to the smaller code base that is provided by it. So I won't argue with that. I think that's great. Oh, Picard or Kirk, come on, Picard all day. And Cisco, where's Cisco? Cisco is awesome. I don't know, man. DS9 is probably one of my favorites. So if you want to start that argument, you can't ask Kirk or Picard without having Cisco in there. This. Is it? And I've got it now. Cisco to Picard is a hard choice, but Kirk is definitely he's in the third place behind those two. Voyager. I'm sorry about Voyager is not my favorite. Oh, I love the new Star Trek. The new Star Trek Discovery, also really good. Do I prefer UniFi or Aruba? I kind of forgot about it for a little while, and you said Aruba, so it reminded me. We've seen some Aruba in the marketplace. It seems to work. Customers that use it are going, it works. We're not unhappy with it. We have that Aruba system we have for testing. I want to test it directly against one of the UniFis and see how they do a head-to-head. But I liked it. The problem I had with like some of the Aruba stuff was the way it ties to their dashboard. You can't self-host a dashboard. And my challenge is if any of these companies have some type of outage or abandon the product, and that product only can tie to that dashboard, now you have a brick. And the Aruba, the switches do have local management options. They can tie to the cloud or to the switch. That's great. The Aruba Wi-Fi devices, they were the instant on ones, and they may have other product lines that are different. When I did my review of it, I noticed that it only can tie to the dashboard and has no options for local management. So yeah, that was a little bit more problematic.
Yeah, no problem. We'll be in touch, okay?
Well, that is a dumb question I see people ask. You going to switch from Ubiquiti because of their recent cloud platform issue? Why would, I mean, I already don't care a lot for their UniFi Protect. Like, I don't think it's the best system out there. I think it's one of the easier ones to use. But this seems to be conflated as if Ubiquiti's product problem on a essentially a prosumer series. I mean, the problem I've had, and I've bitched about this a couple times with the Ubiquiti cameras, them dropping the UniFi NVR system, moving to the UniFi Protect system. So we have clients from moving to Protect because they dropped it, but not, if I had to start over, yeah, I would be starting over with something else. And this is why I've recommended Synology so many times and other systems that are out there. But the UniFi systems, if they already have a bunch of cameras, the rip and replace the switch to something different isn't really worth it. Now, that cloud outage had zero effect because we host our own UniFi controller. The fact that UniFi lets you host the own controller, name their competitor for me that lets you host a controller. That'll let me manage at scale, that will do multi-site management on my own controller. People always ask you who the UniFi's competitor is that has those features, and I'm like, no one. That's why UniFi, the market had a void in it. That void was being able to, because people like me and many other IT companies who've been burned by cloud infrastructure problems and really high, ever-increasing license fees, we're going, how do we just locally manage our infrastructure? How do we host our own controller to manage infrastructure? UniFi fits that bill. That is UniFi's niche. The day UniFi stops doing that and becomes like some type of, you can only use it in the cloud, you can't get our controller software anymore, is the day that, well, they don't distinguish themselves from companies like Aruba who do that as well. And so does Datto, and so does insert 20 other companies, Meraki. So because all these different companies do those same things all the time, I don't think UniFi is going to switch that. So we will continue using UniFi no matter how many cloud outages they have, because we get to host our own controller that did not have an outage because it doesn't care what Ubiquiti's cloud is doing. Hopefully that little rant makes sense. Let's see, someone's an optimist. INCOM has one. Yeah, next generation's good. Thank you, Grayson, for the donation, but yeah, you're right. How many people are in our controller? I don't know. So, I wonder if there's a way, I think there's a way I can do a count. Let's count how many people are managed in our primary controller. We have some clients that have their own controllers, but like managed clients that we have inside of here that are also in the controller. Let's get a number on that. Will it tell me? I think there's a way you can do this. I think there's overview. I can't show you because it'd have all their client names in there. This controller, the one we're hosting here, has 58 clients in it. 58 businesses we manage in the primary controller. So hopefully that's insightful in some way. And those are only those are also kind of a crossover of our managed clients. So managed clients are in there as well. That's a lot of managed clients, so. Yeah, the Edge Router series is different. It's not managed by the UniFi controller. They have their, I forget what you call it. But yeah, they have that other software. Lots of businesses want to do it. Matter of fact, some of these government companies we've talked to, that's one of the features they like a lot. Because, man, we've consulted on more setups than we certainly have in ours, because these are the ones we manage. There's other ones that other people, want it all in-house. And, I mean, like the company that we're doing the warehouses for, that's a perfect example. Them being able to host in their own data center. They have a data center. This is a big company with many locations. And each one of these locations has, 100 plus UniFis at every location. But they now have one single self-hosted dashboard inside their own data center. None of the data leaves. There's VPNs between all the sites. All the data stays consolidated internally, and they love it because now they can get great visibility into their entire network on a self-hosted system that they manage. They just think that's great. Their IT team loves the fact that we put these in. They never liked they were on, what's that other company? Aerohive. They were on Aerohive and they had more issues. They actually found the Ubiquiti system to be easier to use than the Aerohive one. That's their opinion. I did not use the Aerohive one. I've not used Aerohive, so I don't know. This is me talking to their internal IT team. They also just found them more intuitive, and they found it a lot less expensive because, well, they didn't like the pricing on the Aerohive one. The other problem was the Aerohive was not only more expensive, Aerohive was dropping support for 5-year-old APs, and they thought that was not nice. They were dropping, I don't know Aerohive. This is me talking to them as to why they're bidding it. Aerohive was dropping support and adding fees for something to keep long-term support devices on the dashboard, I guess. I don't know the details. It was cost prohibitive to them is what they thought. And they thought UniFi was a better solution. And now that we've done like 6 warehouses for this company, they are just thrilled that 6 of their locations are now all in one big dashboard. And we're still doing more. UniFi doesn't ask any of us for, or me for product improvement ideas. If there was a product improvement idea, it would be, hey, why don't you do something with them USGs? That'd be kind of cool, but they don't. So. Yeah, that's the problem when it's in their cloud dashboard. It's you're dealing with whatever they change their mind about something or raise the rate. You just now have to pay more. You don't even have the option of doing something different. So, like I said, this is why UniFi has such a big market share. They have a lack of competitors in their market. This kind of keeps them pretty big on that. So, yeah. What else do we have? I try to remember. There's something else I wanted to talk about. What is the title of this thing? Income sources, business, and errata.
You know, that would be something I'd have to listen.
Well, it's not just listen to me. I mean, I'm by far not the only one saying about the product stuff. So there are forum posts after forum posts after forum posts of people asking for features to be added to the UDM Pro, all of their routing line. I don't know. I mean, it's not, they can't be not aware of it. How's that? I don't know what drives choices. Because, I mean, who doesn't really want a stack that's fully in one pane of glass? That sounds like a great idea. It's just not being done. So that's hypervisor of choice, XCP-NG. I've talked about that a lot on this channel. I've been doing more and more videos on XCP-NG. I really like a new feature they added. What was it? Check this out. This is fun. So we'll pull this. So we'll switch over to this. And they added a little option box. And just it's the little nuanced things that they do. So they did this right here, so you can disable TX checksum offloading when you virtualize pfSense. I thought that was nice. These are some of those little things they look at. They actually did this because of my video. I made a video where I said, you know, it'd be cool, guys. And I've talked to the product lead and posted on GitHub before with them. The copy to clipboard. So I can just click something and it copies that IP address. I think that is just super handy to do. So there's a couple little things I like about that. They're always adding more. I need to do an updated review because I'm running the, I just recompiled this. This is the 5660 version and 569 XO Web and XO Server. So I got to cover some of the new features they've added. It's definitely a great system. I am super happy with how it works. Actually, did this run a backup? Successful. Even the little things like how they do the snapshots and the backups and keeping it all easy to find under one, so I can go here, look at when this particular box was backed up, which I ran a backup today at 3:06 p.m. And I don't know, I just really like the whole way Xen Orchestra works, and it's all open source, top to bottom, which is pretty awesome. Let's see. Why is pfSense not developed in the SD-WAN? That's just not their market. They're not an SD-WAN company. So, that's, I don't know. What storage are you using XCP-NG? FreeNAS. What do you use to manage WAN nodes? A combination of either SolarWinds or Zabbix. Hopefully that helps on that. But FreeNAS is my storage for XCP-NG. I don't know if I said that. If you have two servers in a pool with 128 gigagram total, no, that isn't how hypervisors work. How do you reserve an IP in pfSense? Just go to your DHCP server and reserve an IP. You click the little plus button next to the IP. That'll reserve it. Yeah, separate VLAN. You shouldn't have, if you can have things separated, so your VLAN for management things is separate from where all the general people are, and then like even, anytime you can have more segmentation, including a management VLAN, that's a good thing. Blue Iris is way more complicated than UniFi Protect, so it all depends on how much learning you want to do. Blue Iris is popular. People seem to like it. It offers a lot of bells and whistles. That means, one, you have to run a Windows server to run Blue Iris. Two, you have to learn all the functionality of it. UniFi Protect is just turn it on and let it go, so it's going to be easier to set it up. So it comes down to which one do you want to take the time to learn. It's a very, in the bottom line, they do the same thing. Details are dramatically different when it comes to features. Let's see. I always have issues with XCP-ng VMs getting stuck in a yellow state, which requires a tool stack reset. I don't know. I consult with people who goof things up all the time, so that's the easiest way to reach me is probably like a Twitter. Someone says, want to give a beer sometime. Twitter's probably an easy way to reach me. Maybe. I'll consider having a beer sometimes. VoIP with LAN, no. I'm not experienced in how to tie landlines, digital analog converters. That's not my skill set. I don't know if you can make... You're asking a weird question here. Please make a video on RDP, OpenVPN, SSH over HA proxy. What? I'm not sure. I don't know what you want. That's a lot of words all strung together. I imagine you could probably use RDP with HA proxy. I've never tried. I put RDP behind OpenVPN, as simple as that. I don't know that you need to throw HA proxy in the mix. No, I don't virtualize FreeNAS. That's a bad idea. It's for demos and not for using. I don't think you can do BGP with Ubiquiti. I might be wrong, but I don't think you can do it. So no, I'm not making a BGP video with Ubiquiti. To my knowledge, it just doesn't work. I have a video on all the different options for setting up your VMs and RAID Z options. So yes, there is ZFS support in XCP-ng. I do some containerization. I'm not good enough to do a video on it. Mini iOS 3 Part 2. Yeah, that's on my to-do list. I need to figure out a way to make more videos. There's my next challenge is I need more, I don't know, I need to stop doing something so I can do something else. I need to rearrange my time to be able to produce more videos. Definitely on my to-do list. Because the Mini iOS 3 is definitely a fun thing to play with. Okay, so their edge line is capable of BGP, but it's someone said it's command line only. Okay. I don't do much. People ask about support with their edge line. I just don't support it. That is something we do turn down, writing custom scripts for edge routers and command line setups. That is at least something we don't really get much into. The demand is low, and everyone who asks for it is wanting a discount anyways. They start with the two questions sometimes when they contact us. Can you lower your rate and write a BGP script for this? I'm like, no. No and no. Matter of fact, I'll raise it. They don't like to pay what it would take. I mean, I'll sit down and learn it. It's not that I can't figure it out. But most of the people that want to do something like that want to spend no money. That's why they bought the edge switch anyways instead of another switch or another router that has support for it. I say edge switch, I meant edge router. So there's other people doing Docker videos. Jay from Learn Like CV. There's other people doing them, so I'm not going to bother. There's people better at Docker than me. Therefore, I'll let them do videos on Docker because they're going to be more accurate. I super doubt that the UniFi can do it. Maybe the edge router can do OSPF. That's a maybe. I don't know. Like I said, the lack of... It's one of those time and value. I can take the time to learn anything and then go fill a gap. and leverage that knowledge I have to fix things. But it's not likely that there's enough people that would pay me to make it worth my time to go learn it or have my staff get trained on how to do BGP on the edge routers. That's just a business decision at that point. Yes, pfSense supports it quite well. That's the other answer. pfSense is really popular in data centers and supports BGP and supports OSPF and supports a lot of things that you can't do in an edge router, pretty much all through a menu-driven system. So it's easier to solve the problem with pfSense. It's fully open source. Edge is not. So I have more advantages with pfSense. Open source already does the thing you're looking for. The reason people don't want to do it is, I don't know, they already have an edge router. I'll mention hot sauce real quick. So if people are wondering what hot sauce there is, I just didn't bring it over on the table. I did take a picture of it real quick. It's this Kaboom high velocity hot sauce. My son actually grabbed this. It's from some company called C.A. John's from Fiery Foods. I don't know where my son got it from. He was traveling, visiting family, and when he came back, he had this, and it's quite good. It's quite hot. So I've decided a lot not to eat the hot sauce. Not because I'm bothered by the hot as much as some people seem to be bothered by me eating on here. And I myself don't like crunchy noises and things like that. So that. Oh, I was laughing. I was on the island today, and this house finally sold. I was just looking at things I had in my pictures. I was going to post about this on Twitter. This is the weirdest house over on Grosse Ile, which is the island. I had shared this a couple episodes ago about it being one of the wilder 1980s houses that's for sale. Like everything inside is really unusually 1980s themed. And I was driving around over on the island today, and I was like, oh, I take a picture of this place. No one lives there yet. They literally just sold it the other day. I don't know. Just random in Errata. I'm down to the Errata park, so I'm winding this down. I'm trying to keep it to an hour today, so I got a few things I want to get done. Patch panels. I got reasons to use either one. Keystones are nice because they're flexible and changeable, but they're more time consuming and more expensive to set up. Normal patch panels are nice because they're faster to set up. So which one do you want? If I was building a home lab, go Keystone all the way, because home labs are specifically, or any lab. I call this a home lab, even though it's a studio lab, but it's kind of one and the same. It's kind of a small lab where we experiment with things all the time, and it's definitely great to use this setup like here for doing your wiring, cabling, and popping them in and out to do things like that. So. Keystones are more time consuming. I'll let you race Corey sometime. I haven't seen anyone that can beat him. He knows how to do both. We got the little crimpy tool. But when you start doing it from the standpoint of how fast you can punch down 200 wires, you'll find by you're at 200, you'll find that doing the punch downs faster on a patch panel than you will doing it in Keystones. But there's always going to be someone that'll argue with me about that. It kind of comes down to it. Keystone's also going to be a little bit more expensive than a patch panel, but honestly, from the price of structured cabling, they're not substantially more expensive. The biggest price tag at a structured cabling job is usually the labor, not the pieces. It's just when you start running a lot of wires and putting all those J hooks up, and and all the different brackets you need, and the support structures and the wire itself, the labor adds up very, very quickly if you're paying some skilled labor people to do it right. Is it possible to get a Let's Encrypt cert on a UDM Pro? Not that I know of. Grosse Ile? Oh, what island? I think there's probably some context I could add to what island. So let's talk about where we are and where the island is. Go, Google, go. So we are right here. This is where my shop is. We can even, right here, street, Lawrence Systems. There we go, right there. The island is right here. So that island is, we go down here, we go to this bridge. Hey, you guys may have seen this bridge before in one of my videos. We actually we beam internet across this channel right here of the Detroit River. And that house that I was at is somewhere over here. But yeah, this is a little island in the Detroit River. If you ever wonder how close we are to the river, that's how close we are to the river. We go, I don't know, what, a mile? How many miles is it? Does it start? Do a distance measurement. Measure distance. Depending on which way you do it, but we're 2 miles from the water. But you got to go to the bridge and get across to here. So what is that? 2.2 miles. Well, we got to do it like this. And then we got to do it like this. There. 3 miles by the time you actually put some angles on it till we get over there. My son goes to school over on the island. So the school's somewhere over here. So I have to drive him from here to there where he goes to school. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the island I was talking about. MikroTik are nice too. So nice is not the right word. Functional and inexpensive, but yes, definitely some complexities and learning curves to them. I've done a couple of videos on MikroTik, so. Keystone is definitely more serviceable. Lars is very correct on that. That's why I said if you're building a lab, definitely go Keystone. It's just way better. Yes, colored keystones. Matter of fact, all colored keystones back here to distinguish the different wires. Yes, Grosse Pointe is also in Michigan. And Grosse Pointe Blank was, I believe it was filmed here too. Filming locations. So let's see. Yeah, Grosse Pointe Blank, the movie. The screenwriter was motivated by the panic over his own reunion, which was in Michigan, where Grosse Pointe is, and chose Grosse Pointe over Beverly Hills, Michigan for his own hometown. There's some movie facts for what they're worth. But most of it was filmed in L.A., but it is based on a Michigan city called Grosse Pointe. So there's Grosse Ile, which is the island, and Grosse Pointe, which is up the river a little bit further. So those are... But there are areas here for whatever movie trivia. I guess we're on movie trivia now. Let's see. A few more questions and I got to get out of here. Born and raised in South Detroit. Yes, I've always lived just south of Detroit. What else do we have? Final questions. Do you use same portal set up targets on 2 extents too? I'm not 100% clear on the questions, but forums are better for complicated questions like that. So I'm not trying to start with, when you do the forum post, if you can start with what your goal is. Because sometimes I run into a lot of IT people that, hey, can I do this thing? And I'm like, why would you do that thing? I don't understand. Let's start with what are you trying to achieve so we can find the best way to achieve it rather than starting with a really esoteric question that kind of doesn't have context. Because someone started with a question of, I need this failover to work on 2 different networks. Well, failover for what? What are you trying to achieve? Well, I need to get the failover to work. I'm like, no, but I don't understand what's failing over. So sometimes when you step back, start with a goal, outline the way you maybe think it needs to be done, that's the way to ask better questions so we can get to the answer better. So, yeah, the 5 whys. Oh, great. Someone's worked in corporate. I have certainly done my share of the 5 whys. And now I can just tell you 5 reasons not to do the 5 whys. No, sometimes I hear it and it's cringy corporate stuff. It does have some validity, though. I think there's still valid use of the 5 whys and some of the other tools you use to disseminate information and come to a conclusion. But yes, the corporate buzzwords sometimes drive me nuts. What do you use for network documentation to see what's physically connected? Do you know, I don't know why more people don't use spreadsheets. Spreadsheets work great. You can just set up a Google Doc and type it all out and put little notes in it. So, but when you have UniFi, you can just mouse over things in the UniFi and it tells you as well. So I'll pull up the UniFi real quick. Back to the why we like UniFi answers. So I know it's going to be kind of small. If you want to know where my free PBX is plugged in, it's plugged in there. And that's the iDRAX plugged in there. And the Tesla NannyCam is plugged in there. And that's an uplink to that. And this is the Yealink is plugged in there, our Yealink phones. So you can kind of get ideas pretty quickly how things are in there. Oh, and this one's plugged into the PF sensor, so it has a little up arrow on there. That goes to Steve's office. So there's that. I like the way UniFi documents it. So in those cases, because you're kind of doing it in real time, you don't need to know what's plugged in. But if we needed to provide documentation for where things are plugged in, spreadsheets work really well. You can just label all the spreadsheets and make them look like a series of ports and then label what's on the ports. It's actually one of the easiest ways to do it. And we use Google Docs, then we share it out with the people that we built it for. I know it's simple, but I've seen everyone tell me they want to get these complex softwares to do it. And that's fine. Do it that way too. You can build it out however you want. If you have a better idea, then use that tool that makes you happy. I've watched people really buy into IT people, and just another industry that loves gadgets almost too much. And if there's a whiz-bang gadget that only marginally makes your life a little bit better, people seem to be very quick to run and grab that gadget. Sometimes that drives me nuts because they end up with this disparity of tools. And you know it's really easy to edit? A Google Docs spreadsheet that you shared with someone that I can even edit from my phone and tell you when I did a change without opening a laptop. Throwing it out there, guys. You know, not just UniFi. Other companies, too, that allow you to add all the port labels makes your life a whole lot easier. Any of the companies that offer port labeling, which is a lot of them, you know, in the dashboard, suddenly it becomes a little bit less relevant. Because I can sort that out in a much easier basis. To build a small bridge, which one? I don't know. I don't have the differences in the top of my head to tell you the differences. So use whatever makes you happy. Sometimes people don't like that answer, but I do see that a lot. I say that because sometimes I don't have enough context for why you're comparing the two products. If the one product is faster than the other, I'm going to say something silly like, you know, use whatever makes you happy. Use the faster one. But then someone will reply, well, I didn't need the speed. Well, then why did you ask? Why spend the money on it? If you'll never need the extra speed, why go with the faster one? So there has to be context to the questions for me to answer them. I hate to sound like a smartass, but I'm generally not a smartass, but I just try to always drag in context so I understand why you're asking the question so I can, you know, hone in an answer. But my forums are, for more complicated ones, it's just way easier to ask. We have a brother labeler for labeling. So hopefully that's enough. Head over to the forums to answer the rest of the questions. That is probably the best place to head over there. Yeah, not a smart ass when the question's not clear. Yeah, like I said, and I've said this before, I don't want to leave people hanging thinking I don't respond to forum posts. I see them and I'm like, I don't know what you're asking. So sometimes I'll say, I don't know what you're asking, or use whichever one. I mean, sometimes the arguments are even sillier because people say like 200% different products that barely have a crossover functionality. And I'm like, I don't know, one product's really, really expensive and has every million features. One of them just does one component that this, you know, here's a $1,000 product that has all these features. Here's this $999 product that has one feature that the 1,000 feature had. You asked me to compare the two. They're not categorically the same. So Anyways, I'm not going to wander around on that, but I still answer a lot of questions. I bring up the forums a lot because so many people want to ask me a lot of things. And well, matter of fact, this is a perfect example. You notice how there's no new notices? That's how I spent time earlier, like still not, responding to all these questions. 1.8 thousand posts created, me 403 hearts, 267 topics, 2.6 thousand topics. One of the things I'm always working on is how to do things at scale. That's what YouTube is for me. So the question you always have to ask, whether you're a business owner or when you want to think bigger, how do you do it at scale? Not how do I answer your question, how do I answer all their questions? One, YouTube allows me to do that because I make a video once, thousands of people can watch it, or even right now my channel has over 22 million views cumulatively on it. So there's one way I do it. But then there are questions that come out of that. How do you answer that at scale? Because so many people have the same question. And so many of them just think to start DMing me all the time with a bunch of questions of how to reserve a DHCP. And I'm like, that doesn't scale because I don't have the one-on-one time to answer everybody's questions, and I want to help people in general on some of their stuff. So that's where the forums come in, because frequently you'll find you're not the first person to ask that question, and my forums are now part of a index search result. By the first step, I always tell people, search for the problem before you post, because if I can copy your forum post and just literally copy, right-click, Google search, if that works and gives me the answer very definitively as the first answer, I almost don't know why people posted in the forum in the first place. And I might even post a link to the first search results just so I have kept replying, because I know I'm now adding my own index where Google will see that and rank it again. So, but yeah, do take the time to do that. And that's, like I said, that's one of the reasons I use the forum so much, and I encourage other people to jump in there as well. Hopefully that's helpful. Keep on plugging away. I love seeing all of you and all of you learning stuff. That's another goal. I mean, I do have to make money because, well, I got bills to pay. So it is greatly appreciated when you hit that like button. There's 261 of you, but only 63 likes. Donations are, wonderful. That's another way I can help scale this channel, because I can just sit around doing IT work. That's what pays me more than YouTube by a lot, but I enjoy interacting. I like seeing more people. And this is also some of my problem solving of how do you get more people into IT? Well, you need to make training more accessible. This is all the thought processes that help me produce my channel. But that's just kind of what we got going on. Oh, look, more of you smash the like button, so maybe I'll keep babbling on while you hit that like button and just destroy it. You can only hit it once, though. If you hit it twice, you can hit it any odd number of times if it makes you happy. But eventually YouTube may have a problem with that, so don't click it too much. So get a nice pizza. I'm going on a bicycle ride, actually. That's actually my next step, is to go for a bicycle ride. I'm not going to lie. I do some downtime, AFK, away from keyboard, and go ride a bicycle. So that is my next stop. Bicycle time, and that's about it. It is time to relax in some form or manner. Oh, let's see. Make a new intro. Yes, that's on my to-do list. So I'll agree with that. I like to change it up once in a while, but I also got sick of repeating it at the beginning of every video, because sometimes I'd screw it up, even though I say it a lot. That's why I made an intro. The other advantage to making an intro that it's of a fixed length, I know a bunch of you who have seen it, you know how long it is, and you know how far ahead to jump. I'm okay with that. If you've already seen it, don't watch it twice. So that's actually something I appreciate when someone has a fixed intro on a podcast, because my podcast app has the option to start exactly that many minutes in each time. So that's that's one way to do it. I don't mind if you've already seen it, skip it. That's kind of my thing. If I'm not adding anything new, but yes, I will work on a new intro. All right, thanks.